Episode 293 of Bucco Banter. Joining us today from DK Pittsburgh Sports is José Negron. We're going to talk about spring training baseball. Then we're going to recap the games from Sunday to Wednesday. You're listening to the Bucco Banter podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plate, send in case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Welcome back to another episode of Bucco Banter. Today we're joined by a first-time guest, believe it or not, of DK Pittsburgh Sports, José Negron. José, welcome to Bucco Banter, man. How did it take this long to get you on here?
Long awaited.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been just waiting for it. I've been waiting for it, and I'm excited to be here.
I guess that's a question for us, but we'll answer that another time. José, I just want to go right into spring training right now. Like, what are the general vibes? What are some key takeaways for the first couple games of spring training here?
Yeah, it's been different. And I've said it a couple times. Like it's just it's a different feel, and I think you can say it's because of the off-season activity that this team has been able to do, and just bringing in some professional hitters. Like it's not just a bunch of names. Like these are guys who add to this lineup and make it a little more like, I don't want to say that, it could be better. I think like there are some pieces that you feel like if they went out and got, it could be even more of a formidable unit, but like, this is a solid lineup. Like there are guys in this lineup with, bringing in Marcell Ozuna, bringing in Ryan O'Hearn, Brandon Lau, even a guy like Jake Mangum, guys that are just ball players and can, make this a lineup that is maybe a little feared. I don't know if that's kind of overstating it, but you look at this lineup and it's not just, pitchers aren't going to just be like, oh, well, this is an easy day. Like I think they're going to go through this lineup and say like, all right, this is a challenge. So I think that creates a different vibe. And obviously Don Kelly, coming into his first spring as manager, I think that makes a big difference. And I just think there's a belief that this could maybe be a pretty good baseball team, and comes from guys like Paul Skeens believing in it. It comes from, guys who have been here for a while, Brian Reynolds, Mitch Keller, thinking that maybe this could be a different year. And the guys that are coming in are pretty bought into it too. Ryan O'Hearn, he's out here comparing them to the 2023 Orioles. Might be exaggerating a little bit, with a 100 win team, but it's a team that's bought in. I think that was more of his point, is just the buy-in that these guys have here early. And I get that it's early in spring training. Like there's always going to be optimism and energy and a different kind of mindset to it. But it does feel a little bit different. It feels like this team feels like they can be pretty good in 2026.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the fear factor, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you next. Is the optics are just different with the lineup, because I'm watching today and I know they didn't put on the offensive juggernaut that they did the day before, but you got Oneil Cruz, Marcell Ozuna, Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn. It's just, that's the beginning of the lineup. You're like, holy moly, like that. Yeah. That's a major league team. Like when you're watching the Dodgers or the Red Sox or the Yankees, like you see names, right? And then you see like they look bigger on the screen just because of who they are. And with the Pirates lineup, you never really had that. It's like, all right, well, like, yeah, there's Oneil Cruz. He's good. Brian Reynolds was an all-star, but okay. Like they didn't seem like they fit or were like the hitters that they are because of the lineup that they're in. But now you're putting all those guys in a row. It's like, wow, this is actually someone you have to prepare for. This is a team that you can't just go by or take a series off. This is a major league club. And you think guys like Oneil Cruz and Brian Reynolds are going to benefit from adding these guys to the lineup even more so than what people are talking about?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important for those guys to get back to where they were. I mean, like you look at last season, I think that their struggles had more to do with the offensive struggles than maybe anybody, even the guys that weren't producing, that you didn't expect as much from them. Like you expect more from Brian Reynolds and Oneil Cruz, right? Like you expected more from them, not just offensively, but, you expected some progress defensively from Oneil Cruz. You expected, Brian Reynolds to, least get the job done in the outfield. Like, and I think the big thing for me is the fact that, their struggles kind of magnified everything else in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, you look at, Nick Gonzalez's offensive struggles and even his defensive struggles, and maybe like magnified it on a larger scale because of, Oneil Cruz and Bryan Reynolds not really being those key components that you need. And you look through the rest of the lineup and it magnifies everything else. But now you add those three in particular with Lau, O'Hearn, and Ozuna. And it's like, maybe it takes a little bit of pressure off of Bryan Reynolds and Oneil Cruz of having to be the guys. Like they can just be themselves. Like that's all they need to do. Like all these guys really do. Like if baseball's a team sport, like you need 1 through 9. You need these guys to be contributing. And even at the bottom of the lineup, like if you're going to have Henry Davis down there, if you're going to have, if Konnor Griffin doesn't make this team and you have Nick Gonzalez playing short and he's at the bottom of the lineup, or Giro Triolo at third and he's at the bottom, like, those guys just need to do that, play their part and just do whatever they can to keep the line moving. And the rest of the guys, they have the talent, like they have the ability to go out and make things happen. They just got to put it all together.
Jose, I feel like maybe this is overstated going into spring training, but I've noticed it just watching the games on TV. We haven't gotten down to Bradenton yet. It seems like the collective is more loose in the dugout, on the field. It seems like there was a lot of tension last year at the end of Derek Shelton's tenure. Do you sense that being down there in Bradenton? Like I saw on TV the Yankee game, I think it was, or the Rays game in Lecom, that Brandon Lau and Bryan Reynolds were like on each side of Donnie Kelly and just, BSing with him. And it just seemed very loose. It's just a different type of vibe. I know it's spring training, but is that something that you sense so far being down there?
Yeah, especially with Donnie Kelly, like these guys have his back and they know that he has theirs. The message that he was able to send to them from the very beginning, it seemed like it really resonated with the whole group of, just being tough, gritty, being loyal to one another, being united, playing for the city of Pittsburgh. Like with Donnie, I feel like it's very authentic, how much he wants to win in Pittsburgh. Like that's not a show, like it's not for show. Like, obviously he's a Pittsburgh guy, he wants to be able to win for the people of his hometown. And I think that resonates with the group and it's, they feed off of that. And, I know Brandon Lau's a new guy and he's coming in. It's a different situation because, he's in Tampa Bay for 8 years, it's the only organization he's known. So it's a little tough, transitioning to another organization and just a new environment. But, he has a connection with Bryan Reynolds. They live near each other in Tennessee. He played against Mitch Keller in Class A. So like he has some experience knowing those guys. And it seems like he's been like a really good fit, like really quickly. Like these guys have kind of meshed together and you're seeing the same thing with Ryan O'Hearn. You're seeing the same thing with Marcell Ozuna. It didn't take long for them to come in here and really fit into what they're building here. And that's another thing too, is like these guys are bought into what they're building. Paul Skeens said today, like he's bittersweet. He has a bittersweet feeling about leaving for the WBC because he doesn't want to leave the group. Like he knows that they're building something pretty cool here and he wants to be a part of it. He wants to be a part of every moment. So, I think that these guys are coming in and creating that loose environment. And again, it is spring training, so it's easier to kind of be a little looser now. And, it's low stakes with spring training games. So we'll see what happens when the games actually matter and how these guys approach it.
Jose, the talk with the rotation of filling in that fifth man spot. We'll see Urquidy tomorrow for the first time, but we've seen Bucco already. We've seen Harrington. We've seen Majinski, and there's been talks about bringing in another arm, although talks have definitely quieted down since spring training games have started. One, do you think there's a massive competition for this spot, or is it really limited down to maybe a couple of those names that I've just mentioned?
I think it will depend on if they bring in that fifth starter option, which I know that there's still interest there. I know that they are interested in approaching that. And they have been, talking with guys really throughout the offseason. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens within the next week or so, just because we're getting towards the nitty gritty of spring training. So if it happens, it's going to happen rather soon. But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't happen, then, you know, I'd say that obviously Carmen Mlodzinski is probably head of that mix just because of the experience he got last year. You know, his familiarity, you know, with the organization, just him being here for a while, you know, kind of giving him maybe that opportunity. But then again, like in my mind, like I really like what he brings to the bullpen. So it's kind of tough to take away from that because he's just been so consistent, and we've seen the difference between him as a starter and as a reliever. And, you know, it's night and day, really. Like, you know, he's really struggled that third time through the lineup. And so there's a lot of, you know, some questions there. But then when you look at a guy like Jose Urquidy that has, I think, 18 appearances over his last 2 seasons, some injury issues, he's really good in Houston. So him reuniting with Bill Murphy might, you know, be a good thing for him. A guy like Mike Clevenger, who's in camp on a minor league deal. I mean, he's a guy who's been good in the past, but, you know, I know over the last 2 seasons, I think he's lacked some, you know, major league appearances as well. So I'd say that I don't know how hot the competition is because it's so early on. And there is a question mark, you know, revolved around, like, are they going to bring in this, you know, other starter? So I think that's the big thing. Like if they do bring in another starter, then I think that they'll have the kind of the head start to that 5th spot. But if not, then I think Carmen Mlodzinski, Jose Urquidy probably are the top 2 candidates.
Jose, I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. I'm going to put you on the spot, and we'll put it on the quote card so people know who to blame when they're unhappy with your response.
Yeah.
Konnor Griffin. All right. We saw the outing yesterday down in Fort Myers. I mean, just the superstar potential that was just flashed right in front of our eyes on TV. Does he make the opening day roster if you had to bet right now? Yes or no?
It's so hard to give one answer or the other. I just think it's a 50-50 shot. Like, I know that's like a cop out. But it's so hard to gauge it just because I think there's still more that he can prove this spring. If he keeps hitting like he has been, and he keeps progressing and showing that he's, you know, growing as a player, then yeah, like take him with you. You know, like let him start opening day, take him to Flushing, New York, and let the kid be a part of this. Like, if he's the best option, you know, I say do it, you know, and what I've seen from him so far, and it's not just like the way that he carries himself on the field and the way that he performs, but it's the way he carries himself off of it too. Like, just he's so humble, you know, just a down to earth attitude about him. And it's crazy that he's 19 years old. Like, just the way that he carries himself and the way that he's able to, I mean, those home runs yesterday were just unbelievable.
Smoked.
Just crushed them.
Crazy.
And
I mean, he almost got a couple hits in that game in Clearwater too. I mean, the wind was blowing in. That should have been his first home run to center field, and he was robbed of an infield single. But, you know, he's just been on it since day one here in spring training, it seems like.
Yeah, he's hitting the ball hard. And that's the thing. Like, I remember when Bryce Harper was a young prospect, they just said, like, everything he hits is hard. Like, he never hits like makes weak contact, you know, and that's, I think, the same thing with Konnor. You know, he's just, it was unbelievable to watch him in batting practice. And then you're like, all right, well, it's just batting practice, right? Like, then you watch him in live BPs and, you know, he hits a home run off Nick Domkowski and you're like, okay, like that's pretty cool. And then he just does what he did. And it's progressing, right? Like, in Sarasota, struck out twice in his 2 at-bats. And it's like, all right, well, you know, it's first game, see what happens from here. Then he goes down to Clearwater. And like you said, Scott, like, making hard contact, even if he's not producing those results that he wants, you know, he understands it's the game of baseball. Like, sometimes it's not going to go your way. And then he comes out yesterday and not only is he hitting home runs, but he's hitting it against Ranger Suarez, who's one of the better left-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball. And Seth Martinez, who's, you know, has, I think, over 100 Major League appearances under his belt. Like, he's not doing this in, you know, 7th, 8th, 9th inning against guys who don't have a last name on the back of their jersey. Like, he's doing this against legitimate, you know, Major League talent. So, you know, if he keeps that going, you know, I don't want to say they're going to make things difficult, because, like, if he's producing the way he is right now and continues that throughout the spring, I think it's an easy decision. If he doesn't and he kind of struggles along the way, then you're like, okay, well, maybe the best decision is to start him in AAA, and he's going to be on this team in 2026 one way or another. Like I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's just a matter of whether he's going to be on the opening day roster, and whether by opening day is he the best person for the job of helping this team be better in 2026.
Jose, my last question for you, outside of Konnor Griffin, has there been one player that stood out to you this spring training?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll say the last couple games, one guy that's kind of impressed me in terms of his production at the plate. Haven't really seen him have the issues. I'll say his name right out of the gate. Jhostnyxon Garcia has looked pretty good
yesterday. Yeah.
I think when it comes to plate discipline, that was something that he really focused on over the offseason. He understands like chase rate down last year in AAA was just not where it needs to be. And the power is real. Got to see the arm for the first time.
That Wilyer Abreu throw out. Yeah.
Yeah. Him being able to throw out Abreu on a one hopper. So yeah, I mean, he's really kind of stood out to me over these first couple of games. Today, Oneil Cruz, aside from, the outfield thing, but hey, the wind's blowing. It's spring training. Maybe that's just, you give him the benefit of the doubt there. But I had this in one of my 3 observations after the game, but like, I love seeing the fact that Oneil Cruz is making hard contact and getting the ball on the ground and hitting it where guys aren't. Like, the power is so natural for him.
He's going to run into him. Yeah.
And
he's not chasing as much, I feel like, as through these first couple games.
Yeah. And I even I wrote the other day, like, ABS is kind of tough because, he lays off a pitch that's mostly out of the zone, and you're like, okay. And normally when ABS isn't involved, umpire's going to call that a ball, and you're like, all right, Oneil, good job not chasing something that's. But if it's this much in the strike zone, right, it's it's going to be called a strike. So it's tough in that instance. But yeah, I mean, if he cuts down on that, the chasing and has just good at bats on a nightly basis, that's going to benefit them too. So he surprised me or impressed me today. Every day it seems like there's going to be a guy who's going to kind of show out. Termarr Johnson's looked pretty solid early on, couple multi-hit games for him. But yeah, Garcia to me is kind of a guy too that it's hard to gauge during people ask like, oh, well, what do you think of this guy during batting practice or during the workouts at Pirate City? It's a little hard to gauge it from those settings, and a little easier now that games are getting underway. And we'll see what happens with him. It's going to be tough, but has looked good here early on.
Sure. Yeah, well, we don't want to talk about it all today, Jose, because we want to have you on again here throughout spring training. There's a lot of guys that I'd love to talk about, as Berlin Valdez, Nick York. A lot of guys have really impressed me early on in spring training, but there's a lot of baseball left. So we'll be down in spring training Sunday. I was going to say next week. So less than a week away, and we're excited to see you, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We are back after José Negron jumped on the show. Scott, let's talk spring training baseball. Couple highlights of the week, obviously Konnor Griffin. Let's get right out in front of it. This kid is unreal.
Oh, we're just getting right into it. Okay, let's go.
Look at these. I mean, everybody have seen these home runs by now, but you could watch these over and over again because the extension that this kid gets on his swings and the two-hand finish and the body control and the poise that he shows has been unreal.
I mean, that one was just an absolute missile. 440 feet, 111 miles an hour. I was watching this at work on my phone. Yes, I have another job because I'm not a full-time podcaster yet. That I literally on the first one was like, oh my God, out loud at my desk. And it almost felt like it was coming. Like I felt that that big hit was just on the way, like in Clearwater. I didn't get to see too many of his at-bats or his 2 at-bats in Sarasota, but in Clearwater, he was hitting the ball hard. He was robbed of an infield single. Probably would have hit a home run there if the wind wasn't blowing so much that day. But it just felt like that big hit was coming. And man, he arrived with an exclamation point down in Fort Myers.
he's been hitting the ball hard. That's all that you can ask for a guy right now at his age playing in major league spring training games. You heard Jose say it. It's 50-50. I could see it happening either way, but if he continues like that, and that was the question, if he continues to play like this, well, he's not going to hit 2 home runs every single game. Let's get out in front of that. That's not going to happen every single time. So if that's your expectation, prepare to be disappointed. But if he continues to hit the ball hard like that throughout spring training, it's going to be very difficult to keep him off this roster.
I mean, absolutely. He's going to quickly be your best option. He already is your best option, probably at shortstop. But look at this stat that Paul Hembekides threw out today out of ESPN, friend of the show. Teenagers in baseball history with 150 WRC plus in their minor league career and a 50 stolen base season above rookie ball has only happened 3 times outside of, and that one of those 3 times was Konnor Griffin. The other 2 times, 2013 Byron Buxton, 2010 Mike Trout. Wow. It's good company. It's good company. And, I think it just goes to show, like, this guy is a generational prospect. Like, yeah, Roman Anthony, I don't want to compare the guys right now, is a good ball player, but I think Konnor Griffin is another level of a prospect, like a generational prospect.
At a premium position.
Up the middle, which he hadn't played a lot. Well, he played it, but like that wasn't his primary position out of high school. Like, he's this elite center fielder, and he goes and wins a Gold Glove at shortstop in his first year as a teenager in professional baseball.
I would love it, man. If this lineup, we were talking with Jose, the fear factor, right? You face Oneil Cruz, then you face Brandon Lau, then you face Marcell Ozuna, then you face Ryan O'Hearn, then you face Konnor Griffin, you face Brian Reynolds. Like, that's a major league lineup right there. There's very little holes in that lineup. And then not to forget about Spencer Horwitz, who has been a really solid hitter in his short sample size.
But he doesn't have to be your best hitter.
Exactly.
Neither does Brian Reynolds. I think I'm getting Bucco fever. I'll just cut right to the chase. I'm getting Bucco fever. I really think this team can be special. And you're adding in a guy like Konnor Griffin who can be a franchise type of player.
Yeah,
Griffin is from baseball.
Yeah. Griffin is only behind Cruz by 0.2 miles per hour for the lead in EV. Most MLB starters have played by now too. So he's at the top of the charts. This kid.
You heard Bryce Harper, and we all, I remember growing up, and Adam and I were around the same age. You remember all the documentaries on Bryce Harper and just the hype around this kid coming out of high school. He literally took his GED to graduate high school early. I think Konnor Griffin's a bigger prospect than Bryce Harper was, as crazy as that sounds.
You think so?
I absolutely think so.
The hype, for sure.
Not coming out of high school, sorry. Not coming out of high school, but right now at age 19 and what he's done through his first year in baseball and still a teenager, I think he is eclipsed Bryce Harper as a prospect.
Fair enough. Well, he's a Pittsburgh Pirate.
He's a Pittsburgh Pirate.
And we might as well mention it because Noah Hiles reported on it today. And we've heard rumblings of extension talks, and it makes all the sense in the world to lock this kid up now. But both sides reportedly are open to an extension, but now it's just coming down to what that number is. Presumably it would be around a 10-year contract. But how high are the Pirates willing to spend in order to keep a generational talent in Pittsburgh? Like, this is your Andrew McCutchen of this generation. We grew up with Andrew McCutchen being the greatest Pirate we've ever seen in our lifetime. This is the next guy up, and it's looking like it's going to surpass that. If he's able to just stay on this same trajectory and be that type of player, I don't want to put that expectation's crazy high.
Yeah,
it is. But that's how they're viewing this kid right now.
I mean, I think you look at Roman Anthony's contract that he signed last year in August, 8 years, $130 million. I think it starts at 150.
Has to.
And it might go to 170, 175-ish range for 8 to 10 years. I think that's what it looks like to lock up Konnor Griffin, and I would put pen to paper tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we have not had a prospect of this caliber in our lifetime.
That also doesn't mean he has to be on, like, say, for example, he signs tomorrow for $170 million, 10 years, 170, or whatever it may be, random number. Say he just signs a contract. That doesn't mean he's going to be on the opening day roster. We've seen this situation before where guys have gotten long-term deals and they still have to develop a little bit, but it's just a security blanket of, hey, we've bought out those ARB years. We have this guy under our control at a fixed rate throughout that entirety of the contract. So it doesn't change really much of anything. He still has to perform right now, but the way he has been hitting with major league players, it looks like he's ready.
Yeah, and producer Jay just mentioned you can even backload the deal, so he's not making $17 million while he's in AAA, which I'm sure they would sign. It seems like the Griffin family too; they're very eager to be in Pittsburgh and be a part of this. What's being built here in this organization? That's something you love to see, and you can't pass up this opportunity to lock this kid up for a while. I mean, to sign him for 10 years, he'll be 29 by the time he hits free agency. Can go make another bag elsewhere, or stay here. And who knows what the state of baseball will look like. I don't want to say make a bag elsewhere, but who knows what the state of baseball, shall I say, will look like in 10 years.
Well, let's talk about other guys that the Pirates have under control real quick, because it was brought up with Jose being a standout guy. Jhostnyxon Garcia, the password, has really impressed both of us throughout this spring training. You mentioned he doesn't look like he's chasing as much. He's stealing bags. He's showing off speed. He's showing off good defense, the arm, good bat to ball. He throws out Wilyer Abreu trying to stretch it into a double here, which in normal situation should be a double. Stumbles a little bit around first base, but right on the money.
Doesn't give up on the play. He's also stolen a couple bags to start spring training. He's doing a little bit of everything, and this is a guy who's going to make a strong case to be on the big league roster by opening day. It'll be interesting to see how that outfield lines up. You got a Jake Mangum and Jhostnyxon Garcia that can play all three outfield positions. I think that could be very valuable to this depth chart.
Yeah, and again, he doesn't have to be the guy. You know, you're not the top prospect. You're at the top of the food chain, but you're not the top guy. You could still work and you could develop, and there's room for a little bit of air here with Jhostnyxon Garcia, but he has really impressed early on. And then I think Oneil Cruz has been someone who I've really looked forward to watching, because the at-bats seem like they're night and day right now. And we have a video up on the YouTube. If you're listening, you should go over. Today versus the Braves, he had a really, really good at-bat. Just spits on some really, really good pitches that you would think Oneil Cruz would swing at in years past, and he forces it into a 3-0 count, gets a fastball, drives it into right field. Compared to last year, and producer Jay clipped together some comparisons. Last year, swings and misses through a fastball early in the count, and then you're going to see pretty much identical location and spin, swings right through it, pulls the front shoulder out, and then he goes down looking. And I know it's a small sample size, but that's a very hard thing to do when you're a lefty hitter on a lefty arm. But he has really shown like the ability to just say like, hey, I'm going to put the ball in play right now. The power is going to come naturally. I'm going to run into some home runs because I'm 6'7", because I am a monster of a human being and I have that natural power. I don't need to swing for the fences. I don't need to be that pissed off Oneil Cruz who could provide power at any given second. It comes natural to the guy. So put the ball in play, use your speed, and put the ball gap to gap, and eventually it's going to get over the wall and you're going to hit 20 plus. But that is something to look forward to the rest of the spring training.
Yeah, I love what I've seen, the at-bats that he's had. I feel like he hasn't chased much early on. We talked about it with Jose, and that's a positive because him at the top of this lineup is a difference maker, along with a Konnor Griffin, followed by a Ryan O'Hearn and Marcell Ozuna and Bradenton Lau, and the list goes on and on. I think the lineup protection there can be just absolutely insane, and they can all complement each other. So, you know, I'm excited to continue watching Oneil this offseason. It's this spring training. It's clear that he's really emphasized working on the plate discipline, the splits, and just the overall offensive game this offseason.
there's a fine line, right, between him being the premier leadoff guy in the entire league to being at the bottom of the lineup, right? Because if he doesn't lay off pitches like that, we're starting every game with one out. People just know how to pitch to him. And if he's just going to swing and swing and swing at spin and not make solid contact, but if this could be a true leadoff hitter, if he could change his game to say, hey, I'm going to hit the ball hard no matter what because of who I am, and then I'm going to get on base and I'm going to steal second, this is one of the best players in the league. It's just a matter of harnessing that talent and really reaching that full potential, which we haven't seen. That second clip, by the way, that producer Jay pulled up was from 2025, the first AB of the game 2. So really hitting the nail on the head here. Like, if he can just put bat to ball and use his speed, this is a guy who is going to obviously steal more than 30 bags, but he's going to be all that more valuable to a team when he has Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, Marcell Ozuna hitting behind him. You've seen in a short sample size already, Ryan O'Hearn drive him in on a ground ball single. Marcell Ozuna do the same thing. He's that fast. That's starting a game 1-0.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And another guy I want to bring up real quick, and I want to ask both of your opinions on him. Nick York has started off really hot, 3 for 4 yesterday with a triple, 2 singles hit at 110 plus miles an hour. I mean, just hitting the ball really hard and playing a little bit of everywhere, right, in the infield. Say Konnor Griffin, hypothetical, doesn't make the opening day roster. Something I've been nervous about is running out Jared Chiarolo and Nick Gonzalez on the left side full-time for a month or so. Can Nick York factor into that left side of the infield?
I would say maybe at third base, right? I'd rather have Chiarolo play shortstop.
Yeah.
But this is the guy that Just Baseball really was high on a year ago and saying like, hey, going into spring training, get him a first baseman, put him in a corner outfield spot. He could play some third base. He could play second base. He could be a true utility guy with a really solid bat, but we haven't seen the sample size, and it's a matter of if he's going to get playing time. I'm interested to see what Jay has to say on this subject because Nick York has really hit the ball extremely hard for, 4 games of spring.
This is really the most comfortable we've seen York in a Pirates uniform, I think, like truly. We talked last episode about how it would kind of be like a last resort to have to throw York out there every single day, but it doesn't really look like that anymore. Like, he looks like a very confident, competent major league hitter, and I'm excited to see what he does this year now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they need to give him a chance, man. I'd much rather see a Nick York out there than, say, and this is no disrespect, but like an Alika Williams. I know Alika brings the defense, but I want to see some offensive potential there where he can drive the ball, put the ball in the air, and produce runs. I think Nick York can do that at a higher rate than most guys in this upper levels of the system that can play infield. And I think he's an interesting depth option, not just to start the season, whether Konnor Griffin makes the roster or not, but like for the season. Like, can Nick York play a factor into this bench somehow at some point, depending on who's hurt, who's available, what the roster looks like?
I hate to keep going back. Sorry, Adam. I hate to keep going back to one stat, but two of the 5 hardest hit balls this spring so far both belong to Nick York. And like Adam already said, most of the starters have played by this point. So he's beating out guys like let me see, Ryan O'Hearn, Brandon Lau. Like, those 2 guys aren't in the top 5. Like, he's there twice. So that just really goes to show how good he's looked so far.
Really excited for this group. The vibe's different.
Speaking of Ryan O'Hearn, too, by the way, I mean, just the vibe I get from the 3 games that he's played so far, he's just going to be a run producer. Yeah. Maybe an overreaction to 3 starts, but like, he's driving in runs. He needs to be in the middle of this lineup whenever he's in the lineup. I've loved everything I've seen from Ryan O'Hearn.
He's a professional hitter.
He's a professional hitter. He's gotten better all the past 3 seasons. His last 3 years, I brought up the stats last episode, have been really impressive. And he just is picking up where he left off. So I'm really excited to have him part of this team for the next 2 years.
Scott, let's get into some game recaps.
Let's do it.
We got Monday versus the Yankees. The Pirates officially have lost their first game at this point, 6-2. Bubba Chandler was on the mound. He looked really solid in inning 1, lost to control in the second inning, but he said, listen, I'm not happy with the outcome, but the process went exactly how I wanted to. So you're going to see this a lot in spring training games. Maybe a guy's working on something specific and he's just trying to work out the kinks and shake the rust off. So Bubba Chandler got his first start of the spring. Gregory Soto came out of the pen with 3 strikeouts. Hunter Barco saw some action. 3 Ks, also walked 3. Brandon Bidois, friend of the show, 1 walk, 1 K, looked really good. This is a guy that should contribute this year at the back end of the bullpen.
Did you see his stuff plus?
Unreal.
110 on the fastball, 121 on the slider. I mean, he's got stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. I think this guy is going to be pushing for high leverage innings sooner rather than later.
Yeah, just want to point out, Kurt Schilling doesn't think you need time to get ready for spring training. Bubba touching 101 in the first inning with a nasty.
Hold on, I don't have my tinfoil hat on yet.
Yeah, Kurt, kick rocks. Cruz had a single off a lefty in the first inning of note. Ryan O'Hearn had a high pop-up just short of the home run. Wind has been a massive factor always when you're playing down in Bradenton. Reynolds continued to have great at-bats. Ozuna had a nice inside-out base hit to score a run. Just talk about, again, professional hitters and guys that have been there and done that. A guy who's been known for his power but also can get on base. Just inside-out's a ball. Put it through the right side to get a run in. I think you're going to see a lot of that. And then Nick Gonzalez has stepped up. Not enough people are talking about what Nick Gonzalez has showed in a short sample size because he's kind of the odd man out right now. Unless Konnor doesn't make the opening day roster, there really isn't a spot in the infield for Nick Gonzalez. He might be more of a utility guy, but he really has been putting bat to ball and barreling stuff a lot. And he had some singles that died down because of the wind, but again, really, really good. And then to cap it off, Nixon Millo with a double in the right center field gap. Bart, of note, lost on 2 challenges. The Pirates catchers have been pretty good with the challenges. Bart lost 2 of them as a team, 13 Ks, 4 walks, 10 hits, 1 for 15 runners in scoring position, 11 left on base. Cruz had his second stolen base of the year. Jay wants to chime in here on the lineup. What do you got, Jay?
It has been so nice to finally see a Pirates lineup that doesn't take a break. Like, I feel like every year in the past couple of years, we've had at least 1 or 2 spots where we get guys on base and we get to those places and it's like, oh, maybe they'll come through this time, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. Because like Scott said before, Ryan O'Hearn, run producer. You just said about Ozuna. That was just a great piece of hitting. Like, it is so nice to have a lineup that just doesn't take a break for once in a while.
100%.
I couldn't agree more. I think the overall theme of this game as well was the young arms that flash plus stuff, but iffy command. And it was the first spring appearance for Hunter Barco and Bubba Chandler. If you're worried about Bubba Chandler, I can't help you. You know, you can't just react to every moment of every game. It's a long year, and it's the first outing of a long year. So the stuff looked electric. 101 on the fastball, 25 inches of a vertical break, 92-mile-an-hour changeup. I mean, he's just disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. Let's go into Tuesday, guys. Boston, we head down to Fort Myers, all right, at JetBlue Park. Carmen Mlodzinski looked pretty good. 2 innings, one hit, no earned, 3 Ks. He's looked good through 2 innings before, though. It's the 3rd time through the lineup that is troubling. But I don't know. The stuff looked nasty. He looked confident, which was good to see. He's definitely a contender for that 5th starter spot. Like Jose said earlier, Thomas Harrington, 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned, 2 walks. He gave up a home run to Cedane Rafaela. I'm going to be watching him closely for his next couple appearances, see if he can get that confidence back. Antoine Kelly, even though he gave up a home run to Wilson Contreras, a couple walks, set 98 to 100, you know, top 5 velos of the game. He was really pumping it. And just like producer Jay just said, this could be a make or break spring for Thomas Harrington, unfortunately. This is the guy we really believed in, who we think could be a back end of the rotation guy for years in this league. And, you know, hoping he gets his confidence back. Like I said, a lot of offense this game, 21 hits. All right. Don't say that much as a Pirates fan. I know it's spring training. 21 hits, 16 runs. Jake Mangum, 2 for 3 with a triple. Nicky G, 3 for 3 was perfect. Stayed hot with a double. 2 RBIs. Nick York, we talked about his outing already. Endy, 2 for 3 with double. He stays hot. Love what I've seen from Endy so far. We haven't talked about him enough. And then we talked about Konnor Griffin and Jhostnyxon Garcia as well earlier. I mean, this is a game that was really fun to watch and a lot of stuff to be excited about.
Andy Rodriguez had 2 calls overturned from ball to strike.
That's what I was going to mention. You guys mentioned Joey Bart missed out on 2. I can't wait to see the statistic on Baseball Reference on the percentage
Average. Your average.
It's going to be a stat. Just wait. I know framing might be going away, but that's going to be the next stat right there for catchers. So,
well, talk about ABS. Wednesday did us no favors at all. The Pirates lost 3-1 to the Braves, and Paul Skeens missed a 1/10 of an inch off of the strike zone. I mean, look at this on the screen right here. It does not get any closer than that. It's so frustrating. And I think the one thing early on about ABS that I don't like is just the pause in the game. Yeah, because you're so used to the one thing I hate about football. I can't remember, somebody said this on Twitter today. I think it was Jim Stam. Football, what drives me crazy is there could be a 90-yard touchdown that gets called back and you're waiting to see if there's a flag. That's kind of the similarity here. And I know it's going to work itself out and there's not going to be a gross amount of challenges per game, but that's the one qualm I have early on. But man, Paul Skeens got a lot of strikes that usually he would get overturned today.
I mean, the old school part of me likes the human error aspect of the game, not when it's against, what I want, but it's frustrating to watch. And you know what? I'm not going to go on this rant this episode, but ABS might be rigged. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay, fair enough. Paul Skeens went 2 1/3, 4 Ks, 4 walks. This is going to be his only start for the Pirates in spring training. He's going to be off to the World Baseball Classic. Outside of that, pretty boring game. Skeens had his stuff. You could see, obviously, it's there. He's just working on some things. The velo looked good. The splinker looked good. He flashed a changeup early on. But you saw Jared Bayless, Clevenger. The main takeaways I had in this game, O'Hearn had some really good at-bats. Again, he drove in Cruz from second base. And then Oneil Cruz, like we talked about earlier in the episode, had some really professional takes. The one thing that we didn't bring up is the read that happened in the outfield.
Yeah, that was bad.
I mean, really bad look. There's a couple of things that could have happened, and it's not an excuse. One, you either lost it in the sun, which I think probably is what happened. He wasn't wearing sunglasses, so got to probably put those on when you're down in Florida in spring training. Or 2, he just grossly misread it, which is also bad. Or the wind, it was not even close. It wasn't close.
Florida, yeah. It was definitely a tough look. I will say
February.
Yeah, I will say Skeens, minus the command a bit, the fastball command. I'm not anyone saying they're weird. I can't even believe I have to say that. I'm not worried about Paul Skeens. 10 whiffs in 2 innings of work. The velo looked good. Noah Murdoch was perfect through 1 inning. No hits, no walks. Michael Darrell Hicks. This is a deep pool. He's interesting. I'm going to keep watching Michael Darrell Hicks, MDH. Just keep an eye on that guy. This stuff is interesting. He made it on the TJ Stats on Twitter the other day in his first outing. He could be bullpen depth this year. When we were looking at optioning back and forth Ryder Ryan 2 years ago, we have a lot of depth coming to and from Indianapolis this year, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, we've seen pretty much everybody besides Jose Urquidy, who they're going to see
tomorrow.
Well, I guess tonight, because this is coming out tomorrow versus the Derek Shelton Minnesota Twins, which, I mean, that team is in total despair right now. I have no idea what's going on in that organization. They just lost Lopez for the year. I think who did Ryan also have some arm injury or some discomfort?
I haven't seen anything on Joe Ryan, but yeah, I mean, they cut payroll, right? Like he leaves the Pirates to increase payroll, and he goes to the Twins, goes back to the Twins where we originally signed him from, and they decrease payroll. Gotta feel bad for Shelty, but I'm excited to see Jose Urquidy, because if I had to pick right now, he'd be at the top of my list for that 5th starter spot. I know he hasn't pitched much in the last 2 years, but he's played with Bill Murphy, and what are you saving him for, right? Like, let's see what he's got, run him out there. He's got playoff experience. He's pitched in meaningful games, and he did really well with the Astros. Dealt with some injury issues. Let's challenge him this spring and give him an opportunity to win that 5th starter spot. So I'm definitely going to be watching his start closely tomorrow or tonight.
If nothing else happens, this will be our last episode before we head down to spring training. on Sunday. We're going to leave Sunday morning, and then we'll be there throughout the week until Sunday. So if you're down there, make sure you stop by and say hi. Before then, if you haven't subscribed by now, what are you doing? Right below, smash that subscribe button right there. Hell yeah. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. If you're listening, please leave a 5-star review, comment, download the episodes so you know when they're coming out. That helps us out a ton. Go to buccobantr.com for all of your merch. You could also find all the shows. All of our great writers have been putting out some excellent blogs pretty much daily at this point. You could also watch the podcast there as well. Scott, I'm pumped. I'm ready for baseball.
I can't wait to get out of this snow, this cold weather up here in Western PA, and get down to Florida and watch some baseball, some exciting baseball too. See some new faces in Pirates uniforms. It's going to be a fun week in Bradenton. Producer Jay is going to be with us. Got some other familiar faces going to be joining us in Bradenton. So if you're there, please let us know. We'd love to say hi, and let's watch some exciting Pirates baseball.
Some fun stuff's going to be happening pretty soon that I'm excited to announce. Really fun stuff. So stay tuned.
We're launching our presidential campaign.
Exactly.
Sorry.
More and sure. More and sure. Here we go. Love it. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, raise it.
Raise it.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates or the steak by the plates and